you need to provide competence, you need to inspire trust. So the competence is one of the most important aspects. And you need to have imagination, because in that project, actually, we didn't have references from the international level. So you needed to create something new. Actually, it was the first case of a quantitative analysis in the world.
Hello, I'm Isabelita Castillo. I'm an executive career transition advisor. Welcome to the third episode of Coffee with Top Elite Executives. I'll be speaking to the creme de la creme, senior leaders and managers that have crossed my path along my career journey and truly impressed me based on their exceptional leadership skills and charisma. My goal and mission is to share with my audience insights and expertise that can be followed as a success formula for your career. Today's guest is a senior leader from the public sector industry in international planning strategies for startups, joint ventures, and new branches. He's passionate about public policies and resilience of organizations and infrastructures, aside from being quality and mission-driven. He speaks fluent English and is an Italian native speaker. Now I invite you to join me in welcoming Elio Calidori. Elio, first of all, thank you very much for being here today and spare time to share your advice and expertise with my audience. Elio, you're coming from the expertise in public sector across Europe, Middle East, and Far East in the last 30 years. Why don't we start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you very much. Thank you for your introduction. It is really a pleasure to drink a coffee with all the friends connected. And yes, I will tell you shortly about myself. Actually, all my career was international. Since so many years, I was developing new industries, new companies, new branches, and startups in the Far East, in the Middle East, in Europe, and especially dealing with the public sector. So you don't need really to belong to the public sector to work with the public sector. I was an executive for public sector. I was creating a joint venture along with the public partners, and I was a consultant, and I'm still. So it's really a pleasure for me to share my experience and my thoughts about a career in public sector today. Thank you.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. Elio, I'm so certain so many people are very curious to know now what has really attracted you to work with the public sector.
You know, when you work in the public sector, you sometimes you are just attending to tenders, you're participating to tenders, and or you are working in public-private initiatives. But this is not the only way to work with the public sector. I was attracted not from the cold mechanism in working with the public sector, but from the passion. When you work with the public sector, you need to be, let's say, oriented to provide at the end an impact in the community. This was attracting me, and this was the real value that I hope I was bringing to the public sector. So my recommendation for everyone who would like to join the working with the public sector, it is not just to look to the relation client and provider or supplier, trying to provide a good value, try to provide an impact. And of course, ethics are important aspect to be considered, along with the other factors that maybe we will say along with this video.
Oh, wow, fantastic. That's very insightful. And Elio, when it comes about, I'm so certain that the same level of excitement that there is in working and serving community by working alongside with public sector, there must be real challenges, especially when it comes about being able to provide solutions like you've been having many times, and having to actually, make sure that that is implemented so you can really feel the value of the things you have proposed. Is there any examples you could provide us, if possible, where you have implemented a solution and you had actually to really gain your way and develop your skills to influence and that be implemented and serve as value for the community?
Yeah, yes, of course. I will provide you a couple of examples. I was working for a prime minister officer in the Middle East, and the project was very challenging because it was to prepare a regulatory impact analysis, and this project was going out of the time, and it was having a lot of expectation from top levels, and it was not having any reference from before. So most of the ingredients were to fail, were good to fail. So in that case, I think it is really a good example on how you need to deal with the public sector. You need to provide competence, you need to inspire trust. So the competence is one of the most important aspects. And you need to have imagination, because in that project, actually, we didn't have references from the international level. So you need to create something new. Actually, it was the first case of a quantitative analysis in the world to analyze, as I said, the impact of regulatory in the products, in the systems, in the qualifying companies. So in that case, we deploy really all the skills possible. And another one, it is the negotiation. So when you deal with the public sector, you really need to have good skills in terms of negotiation. The negotiation, it is so important because you need to convince the other party that you are providing them the best option available internationally. So that's why it's so important. And another example was when we created the methodology to verify if in the healthcare sector the regulations are well implemented. Also, this was in the Middle East. And in that case, you really need to involve expertise that will guarantee to the public sector that your solution is really the best technical solution. And not only that, you need also to provide a wide range of expertise from several sectors, not only in one technical aspect. But more important, you need to provide the passion, because at the end in the healthcare, you touch the life of thousands of people and patients, and at the end, what you provide is for them. So in career, I think you really provide the best, and the other party, especially if it is the public sector, is perceiving that if you really put all yourself. It's not just a matter of cold relation, client and provider.
Wow, that's really interesting, Elio. I think it's really a lot of insights for the people who are really interested in going in public sector and being part of a change for the community. I'm certain that you also, and I've spoken to you before, you've also had to do the same, not only create strategies, but also help influence and implement when it comes to solutions for joint ventures and also startups. Would you be able to give one example about what it is to deal with joint ventures and then with startups as well? And what changes? What's the mindset that you must, let's say, is there a button that you shift, in your mind? Say, well, now this is a startup, this is joint venture. So is there anything that changes? So what is different and what is the same when it comes to getting the results?
This is a really difficult question. Of course, first of all, now there is a trend to have joint venture and also to have startups, but especially to have joint venture, because every country wants a resilient country. Every country wants a resilient industries in their territories for their economies. So there is a demand of joint venture, and also there is a demand of startups to grow up local industries. So when it comes to startups, I'm doing startups since so many years, I think more than 20 years. And when it comes to joint venture, and I have just completed one strategic joint venture in the Middle East with the public sector, between private and public sector. There are some slight differences when you are in a startup or when you are in a joint venture. The most complicated things when you are in a joint venture that is also a startup and it is also international. This was my last case, and I think it was really a case that was building my skills a lot. And of course, a startup sometimes has only one shareholder. You can have several shareholders, but the strategies are better addressed. And when it comes to joint venture, they might be between two different industries, two different countries, two different public sectors, two different legislations. And so in that case, you really need to be a good moderator. You need to be very diplomatic. You need to build also the shareholders' understanding of the joint venture. The most complicated things is to keep them together. Most of the joint venture, they fail after 6 months.
Wow.
Because the culture is too different. And when it comes to startup, the mortality is also very high. More than 70%, they don't survive after 1 year.
Wow.
And working with the public sector can be a way to having a better chance to survive. Because usually the public sector has certain strategies that are public. There are certain, let's say, also tools. There are sometimes accelerators, there are sometimes hub for startups. And if you join the program, so you might get an advantage in terms of funding also. Or connecting. But again, the joint ventures and startups, they need a good planning. Without a good planning, it is really difficult to survive.
Wow, that is a lot. I think, like, even by trying to imagine your scope of job on a daily basis, to be able to separate those buckets, it must be a lot of focus, as you said, passion, and also, of course, expertise. You wouldn't be able to do this out of just as a normal task, a normal day activity. That's really, really fascinating. Thank you very much for sharing those insights. And Elio, before I go to my last question, if people want to reach out to you, if somebody wants to know more details, or just want to exchange some insights and ideas with you, are you an open networker? And if so, where they can find you?
Yes, of course, I'm very approachable. Actually, I enjoy having new connections, and I really enjoy connecting with the people that they want to share ideas. So I am on LinkedIn and I reply in good time to any message, and everyone is welcome.
That's lovely. So they can find you on LinkedIn. Fantastic. Well, all right. So Elio, then I will go to my last question now. So Elio, if you were to project yourself in time, let's say 20 years ahead into the future, and you are happily and, enjoying your retirement, what would have been the biggest satisfaction of your life and career? Or what would have been the legacy of Light? How would you have touched people's life?
Well, one of the aspects in working with the public sector that I experienced was to create standards for regulatory bodies and legislators. So in my dream, I have to create a standard for humanization, because now everyone's talking about digitalization, robotization, but I think that the human factor is so important. So this is what I would like to develop in the future, and this is what I would like to leave to the next generations. But of course, not so easy, but I love to think that the communities and society, they can still stay together in harmony. And I think that we have also good references for, not only bad references.
Excellent. So still the human factor, of course, counts the most. And hopefully when the artificial intelligence is all around us, they'll be able to learn from us how to be a little bit more human. That's amazing.
Exactly.
I'm sure if they were around you, they will easily learn how to be a human. So fantastic. Well, Elio, it's been amazing having you here today. I really want to thank you for coming to the show and sharing so much expertise and insights with the community.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure for me. And I hope that there are many friends connected that they will reach me to discuss about the public sector, public policy, startups, very available.
Oh, lovely. Thank you so much, Ellie. This is really, really nice of you. I really appreciate it. Everyone, thank you so much for watching and being part of this community. We really hope you have enjoyed and feel ready to revamp up your career in the public sector with the amazing insights shared by Elio Calidori. If you haven't done so, be sure to subscribe to this channel to get amazing insights from top elite executives across the world. And until next time, stay blessed.